Okay, this should be a reasonably simple meal for you to cook. More or less everything in place there. Potatoes, ginger, bell peppers, two different types, red and orange. Preferably you would have 4 different types. Yellow and green I couldn't get. Cut them in half then. Onion, maybe more than one, maybe not. That is a sweet pepper. You can put in chili pepper as well if you want. Okay, now these are the important. Ground turmeric, ground cumin. You don't need basil, coriander or chives, but they help. And you want to put it in there really. Chicken. I'm actually going to cut them up, but you could put them in as they are, and you'd use 1 piece per person. The other in the frying pan. The yellow is turnip, the green is, what is the green? Celery, and the orange is carrot. The carrot's going to be cut at least in half again. They've just been taken out of the freezer. They're not strictly speaking required. You're doing this per person that you're putting in, per portions, as it fits into a frying pan. That's it. Bit of oil in there. They need to be cooked 10 or so minutes first, and they're all going to be down to the size of these. I say they're about the same size. These are far too big. If you don't cut them all to about the same sort of size, then they'll be kind of really chunky and crisp, which is fine if that's what you want. But these things over here, they're all going to be soft, except for the potatoes. Okay, then I'll stop then and I'll show you what I'm going to do with them. Okay, now I'm going to show you approximately the proportions I'm going to put in of each. Doesn't really matter what that is, that's chives, but it could be anything. And it doesn't have to be chives, basil and coriander. I just put that in for taste. It can be anything you want, but I'm going to put that amount into a bowl. Okay, I'm going to do the same for all of those. Okay, that's the ingredients in there. There's a little bit more of the turmeric than the others, but that's the taste. It now needs flour in there so that when you put the water in there you can make a paste. And then I'm going to stick the chicken in there, cover it in a plastic bag and stick it in the fridge for a few hours. I also need some for the potatoes, but not as much, and it should all come from the same one. So the potatoes will be done in their own bowl, which will be the same as this, except for the chips, and they will both go in the fridge. Then, when everything's prepared, I'll show you what they look like then. Okay, the next thing is the chicken. It's out now. That's the knife I'm going to cut it with, perhaps. You only really need 2 of these bits. They will shrink a little bit, but I'm not going to put them in like this. But ideally, that's how you should put them in, at this size. You baste them in that, which has got the flour in it now. Mix it together with the flour. I use a handful of flour. It's just the amount of paste I want to make. You'll see that in a bit. They're going to be cut into slivers. No particular reason for that, but that's what I'm going to do. Okay, that gives you an idea of the sort of size of the chicken pieces. They are that sort of size, one like this, my finger. They don't have to be that size, as I said. It's perfectly acceptable to keep them at the size they were before. 4 pieces of chicken, that's enough for 4 people. It also depends on the vegetables you're putting in as well, but I'll marinate them all, and 2 will stay out of the marinade for another day, and I'll cook those the next day or the day after that, so they'll stay in the fridge until then. Potatoes will need to be done, the bell peppers, and everything else will need to be added for the second lot. But 2 sets of chicken, 2 people, 4 sets, 4 people. I'll just have to double up the recipe. I've only got 1 bowl. That's the bowl I'm going to use, which is very nice to put it in, but you can use any bowl you want. I mean, you could even use that type of bowl if you wanted to. No reason not to. Any cereal bowl will do. If you don't have one, a casserole dish without the lid on is just as good as well. And then if you're doing that, then you can make them do all 4 at once if it's a casserole dish, but it's better if you just do it for 2 or 3. In one of those you can make 3 or 4. But that gets difficult with the potato to go on top. I'll show you that in a moment. Okay, that's the carrots diced down to size, so everything's about the same size. And they're cooking about 10 minutes. Let them go nice and soft. That's the amount of paste that's in there now. Down with a fork. You can mix it as you want. Then shouldn't really have put all the chicken in at one go, really. But that's it. That's your chicken in there. Then I use boiling water for this. So this water's quite hot. All the paste is wet, but it does make a difference. It's easier to do with something that's warm than not. The paste that's going onto these, it's not expected to cover them all completely. What I'm doing is marinating them here. Then they're going to have to go into a different bowl. And then the stuff that's left will go for the potato. Unless I haven't done enough, in which case I'll do some more. Okay, so there you have the chicken in its own bowl. That's all 4 sets of chicken there. That's the amount that's left over. That's fine for the potato. You can't really do all the potato at one go, but it'll do for the potato that I've got. I'm going to now peel it, dice it, and put it in there, and then it all goes in the fridge while the other stuff's cooking. Okay, the potato pieces are going to be diced. Again, about finger size, it doesn't really matter. Cut them lengthways and then you can turn them over and then you can dice them to whatever size you want. The size of the potato doesn't matter. You can even use new potatoes. You don't have to skin them if you don't want to. It doesn't really make any difference. Okay, there's the potatoes diced. They're not going to go into there though. They're going to go into here. That's salt in there, boiling water when it boils. Approximately 6 minutes. Take them out, drain them, let them dry, and then put them into there. Okay, that's what you want your onion to be like. Cubed. I'm going to do the same to the other one. It's much easier to cut it in half and then peel it than to try and peel it first. So cut it in half, take the peel off, cut it in half, half again. Ginger, let me see how big that is, a quarter of my finger. The thorny skin is actually where it just dries. So over that part, that will go the same colour as this. And there. All go the same colour. You don't need to take that off, I don't think. I do take it off. That's now going to be cut into the size of matchsticks. That way. That one's also going to be chopped as well. Okay. That's 1/2 of a pepper, and that's cut in half. All I've done there is, that's the bottom part, cut in half, just sliced off. Top part, diced into 3. And these are just that sort of length. You can cut them again in half if you want. Pips, leave them in or take them out. They add a bit more spice to it. The white bits on the peppers, they need to come out. So on my peppers, there's nothing there that shows white. I mean, that's okay. But you don't want the other bits on there. So they'll come up. They'll be cut down to various sizes. Then they'll all go into the pot. Okay, so that's the Bombay. That's the potatoes done. They're called Bombay potatoes. But not with the other chives, etc. Just with the coriander and the turmeric. You can see the steam coming off. It shows you that they're kind of hot. Use a fork to turn them around. You just want them all sort of evenly coated. That one there is not very well coated, but I'll put that right in a moment. That's the sort of size of the sweet pepper. That's half of it cut up. Let's just take it, and that's the pan. Now that looks kind of nice. It would have looked even nicer if there was yellow and green in there. They all taste the same, except for the chili peppers. The bell peppers all taste the same, they just look different. So, we'll get the last 2 bits on. The onion's in there, everything else is in there now. It's not been on heat for 10 minutes yet. About 10 minutes for the carrots and the celery and the turnip to get a bit softer. Bit of olive oil. You can see some oil in there. And then you just turn it around, heat it up. That's that done then. Then that can go into here. And You just wait for the other stuff to be ready. You can see the matchsticks in there from the ginger. You can add other things to it as well if you want. You know, there's no reason why you shouldn't add something as disgusting as mushrooms in there if you like mushrooms. You know, you want to eat fungus, go lick it off your bathroom wall, I always say. The onion that was cut, that's what it looks like now. I just broke it down a little bit by pushing off some of the slices. You don't have to do that, it will do itself. The reason why it's in there is to let it caramelise a bit and sweeten up a bit. You can add leeks to it as well if you want. You've got to remember that every bit of vegetable you add into that, you can add apple as well, and I suppose dried fruit like raisins, sultanas. Everything you add adds to the amount that this is going to feed. I've only put in really enough for 2 portions for the potato. You saw the size of the potato. This is probably more than enough for 2. The more you put in, the harder it would be to go into something like that. And that's my oven gloves that should have got washed. But I think I've put them in the oven. Not in the oven, in the washing machine. Okay, so that's now starting to heat up. Once it's ready, I shall put it into here without this, and I'll sprinkle over the orange, the lemon and lime juice. Then after a few hours, I'll add the chicken and potatoes. They're now in the oven, not in the oven, in the fridge with a bag over them, so they marinate in. And that can get turned off now. Okay, you can see the steam coming off of that. That's what it looks like in the dish. If that had had some green in there and a bit of yellow, it will look really nice. Okay, so if I can get it open. There we go. One hand, and it doesn't want to open. That's how much I'm going to put in. Like you were sprinkling vinegar on your chips. I'll do the same for the other one. I'll put the chicken on top, and then the potatoes will go all around, but you'll see that in a minute. And then it takes about 45 minutes, an hour to cook, depending on the size of the chicken, and the potato about 200°C. I quite often do it at 150. I prefer to cook at that, but if you do it at 200, everything's much more crispy. Okay, that's what it looks like before it's cooked. It doesn't look too bad now. It will look much better when it's cooked though. Something else that I use, if I'm making the chicken a bit bigger, I use one of these. Now obviously you're going to use something smaller than that if you ever do, but this is cheaper, better, and I just light it up with one of those, and then I burn it all in. Actually I burn it in on the place before I put it into there, so it's all dry on both sides so that none of it's getting rubbed off, but it doesn't really make any difference. I'm now going to cook it for 45 minutes, 200, and let you see what it looks like.